Well, good afternoon. And this afternoon, we've got Sarah Mellor with us. She's the church warden at St John's. I've known her, is it 2 or 3 years now? 3 years?
I think a bit longer, coming up for 4 actually.
Is it 4? Oh my goodness, I didn't know it was quite that long. And you're training for readership within the Anglican Church?
I am.
Yeah, well, you've not been a Christian overly long though, and you seem to be uh, growing at a good old pace, and really uh, wanting to come into all the fullness that God has got for you. So, Sarah, what made you start coming to St John's?
Well, as with most people, you tend to have a bit of a life event that makes you think, there's something missing. And in my case, it was actually my mum died 4 years ago. And it's not as though I hadn't had a Christian background, insofar as it all always been there. I used to go to church with my mum, and for evening when I was little. My godparents Scripture Union subscription for me when I was small. But it was when my mum died, which was in the March, and you know, as you do, it's not the best thing that ever happens to anybody, and you're searching for something, and I'd always been thinking there's something missing, and I didn't know what it was. Later on in the year, my son, who was at Redlands at that time, took part in the Christmas Carol service, and so obviously being supportive parents, off we trotted, and literally as soon as I walked through the door, I just went, this is it. And basically I kept coming ever since. So that was the moment where you think, yeah, this is what, I didn't know what it was. It was just the feeling as soon as you walked in that all that grief, the burdens of life, everything just suddenly gets lifted, and you think, I'm not alone. But you still didn't quite know what to put your finger on it was, but I just knew it was the right place for me to be.
Yeah, well, going on from there, so you knew that it was the right place to be. So what happened after that to sort of convince you to stay, or that was a life-changing moment for you?
Well, as I say, I came back after the carol service, and you walk it. I've not been in churches before, and I'm a fairly confident person, so I wasn't put off by walking across the threshold, which I think can be a bit intimidating, because church buildings, by their very nature, are a bit old and a bit historic and a bit. But as soon as I walked through the door, I was met by Linda, and it's like, how are you? What are you new yet? But it wasn't that in your face sort of scare you today. You can think Christians can be a bit intimidating because they're all a bit keen, but there wasn't any of that. I was allowed to find my own space, my own rhythm to my worship, but just everybody was just so genuinely pleased to see me and encourage me. And as I say, it wasn't in your face sort of way. It's always been gentle and nice and kind and welcoming and just really warm. And the encouragement that you get from that, as I say, sort of being left alone almost, not entirely, but just that gentle guidance just makes you feel again that, there is something in this. These Christians aren't all weird.
Well, some of us are. You are when you get to know us, I promise you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, how has God impacted your life then, and in what ways do you see a change in your life since you decided to make that decision to start coming to church?
I think it's been. I think some people get the hit in the, sort of hit in the face with a wet fish, sort of something slaps you around the chops and you go, oh yeah, this is really it. And for me, it's not quite been like that. It's more been a slow, gentle progression, and just I think it's just, you just feel enveloped with something, or I just feel enveloped by the love of God, and that I know that I have somebody in my life who, no matter what is going on in it, is always there for me and only ever wants the best for me and will take me on the right path. Moments where I've known God's been around, a couple of freaky ones for me, because obviously, sometimes you don't appreciate how God can work, but I can always remember having, I think it was when the Toronto church came over, and I'd gone up for healing because I got a bit of a dodgy back. And again, it's all this prayer stuff that can, when you're a new Christian, it can sort of freak you out, because you get all these people sort of laying on of hands, and you're like, oh, what's going on? But actually, it does work. Please don't be scared of it. And there were some words spoken over me that nobody knew about, just me. It was, some thoughts had popped into my head, and this young woman from Toronto, who I'd never met before, was praying for healing, and then said something, and it was exactly what had popped into my head 3-4 weeks ago. I was like, oh blimey, there's no way she could have known. Nobody else knew. And that's what I call a sort of a God moment. They still freak me out when they happen, because you still think, oh, he really is listening. Yeah. And then somebody else said a few things a few months later that were along the same lines. And again, I've not told anybody. So you're thinking, oh, hang on, there must be something in this, because there's a pattern forming. And then more recently, with my illness, when I was diagnosed in August, I've actually, I mean, it was a bit upsetting, it was a bit concerning, but actually, I don't think that I would have coped so well or felt as positive or as good about the situation if I hadn't got my faith. I think it made a massive difference to me, and I just know that what you have in your head about what you want to do and where you want to go doesn't always match the plan, and you've just got to give up and just go wherever the steps take you, knowing again that it's all for the best and God will work things out for you. And I find great comfort in that, and that's, for me, that's been quite inspiring and very comforting at the same time, and given me a lot of strength and focus, which I think I'd have felt quite lost.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah. I mean, for myself, I don't understand how people live their lives without knowing God is there beside them. It's just, I can't understand it. Having known God since a child, I just can't imagine life without him. So, and what about your future, Sarah?
My future, well, follow the windy path wherever that may take me. You say I'm doing the LLM course down at Southall.
What's LLM for people who don't know?
Licensed lay minister course. Yeah. So what I call pretend vicar training. But it's so it allowed me to be more involved in the church, to be able to do services, and it gives you more confidence and direction in your faith and how you want to move within the church. So I've got another year and a bit to go on that. It is very good. I recommend anybody who thinks they've got a calling to investigate. And where that will lead, I don't know. We shall see.
We're looking forward to seeing.
Yes.
Well, have you got any words of encouragement to give people, or you know, if people are out there listening and they don't know God, what's the one thing that you think you would want to say to them?
Don't be afraid. I was out earlier on my hourly exercise walk, and I was having my usual, what often feels like a one-way conversation with God. A lot of stuff goes up, and I don't always hear the stuff that comes back. But I find it very, it's odd in a way, having become a Christian later in life. I think people are afraid of admitting to or wanting to become a Christian. And I thought, it's a bit strange, isn't it? Because if you believe in calories and food calories, which actually is a scientific myth, go and Google it if you don't believe me. Look at Zoe Harcombe, she'll explain it all to you. But if you're prepared to believe in that imaginary word, then you're quite prepared to go to Slimming World or Weight Watchers to believe in something that actually doesn't exist, then why would you not believe in God? Because historically, Jesus did exist. He was a human being. And the stories in the Bible aren't just stories. They're actually based on fact. And the majority is factual. All right, there might be a little bit of fluff in here and there, you know, but that's life over, 2,000 years. But don't be afraid to think and see for yourself that this is real. God is real. There are loads of books. There are, The Case for Christ, as a book, as a DVD. I think it's an easy introduction, but it's a scientific introduction, because I took it when I was coming to faith. I'm quite a factual person. So you can tell me a story, but if there's no evidence, then it's still a bit of a story. But historically, the documents in the Bible were written quite soon after Jesus died. The places that were written about exist. There's evidence to prove that the stuff that took place wasn't made up. It did happen. And as I say, if you're prepared to believe in calories, I think you can afford to believe in God.
Yeah. Well, thank you. My tummy says I believe in calories, unfortunately. All the biscuits I'm eating. I know what you mean. Yeah. Well, it's really good to talk, Sarah. And it's lovely to have got to know you over these last 3.5, 4 years. And we just pray that you'll continue to be part of the fellowship, and just pray that God will continue to bless you as you train in your ministry. So thank you, Sarah, for chatting to us this afternoon, and God bless. Thank you.
God bless, Tim. Thank you very much. Thanks.